Heartland Season 19. The sun rose over Heartland, casting a warm golden glow over the vast ranch. Amy stood by the barn, her eyes fixed on the familiar sight of Lindy, who was playing with the horses in the early morning light. A soft breeze rustled the leaves of the trees surrounding the ranch, carrying with it the sweet scent of hay and fresh grass. It was a perfect, peaceful morning, yet something lingered in the air, a sense of change, an almost palpable unease that Amy couldn't shake. For Amy, Heartland had always been a place of comfort, of healing. It was where her heart had grown, where she had faced her greatest triumphs and her deepest sorrows. And it was here, on this land, that she had met Ty Borden, the man who had taught her how to love, how to heal, and how to believe in second chances. But Ty was no longer by her side. His absence had created a void that Amy had tried and failed to fill. For years, she had pushed away the memories, burying her grief under the responsibilities of running the ranch and raising Lindy. But there were moments like this one when the weight of that loss pressed heavily on her chest. "Mom?" Lindy's voice broke through Amy's thoughts, and she turned to see her daughter looking at her with a puzzled expression. "Are you okay?" Amy forced a smile, though the sadness in her eyes was impossible to hide. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking." Lindy nodded, her attention already turning back to the horses. Amy watched her, feeling a sharp pang in her heart. Lindy had grown so much since Ty had passed. She was becoming her own person, independent and fearless, much like Ty had been. The resemblance between them was striking, and it filled Amy with both pride and a deep, aching sorrow. How she wished Ty could have been here to see this, to see the little girl they had both loved so much, the little girl who had inherited so many of his traits. As Amy stood there, lost in her thoughts, she heard the familiar sound of tires crunching over gravel. She looked up just in time to see a truck pull into the driveway. It wasn't uncommon for visitors to drop by, but something about this vehicle felt different, urgent, familiar. The dust rising from the driveway seemed to hang in the air, thick with anticipation. Jack stepped out of the barn and narrowed his eyes, squinting at the approaching truck. Amy's heart began to race as she watched the vehicle slowly come to a stop. Her breath caught in her throat, and for a moment she wondered if her mind was playing tricks on her. The door of the truck creaked open, and a figure emerged. For a split second, time seemed to stand still. Amy's breath hitched in her chest as she looked at the figure, a man she had not seen in years, a man who had been part of her life in a way no one else had. Her pulse quickened, her hands trembling as she took a step forward. Ty? It couldn't be. It was impossible. But there he was, standing before her. Alive. Ty Borden. Amy's heart raced as she stood frozen, unable to comprehend what was happening. She had spent so many years mourning him, trying to move on, believing that the love they had shared was lost forever. But now, as she looked at him, the years seemed to melt away. Her eyes filled with tears, and she fought to steady herself. The ground beneath her seemed to shift, and for a moment, she felt as if she might collapse. The man who had once been the center of her world was back, standing in front of her, looking as real as he had all those years ago. Jack's face turned pale as he saw Ty, his usual composure faltering. "Lo, too," gasped in shock, her hand flying to her mouth. Lindy, still unaware of the emotional weight of the moment, looked up at the man standing at the edge of the driveway with curiosity. Amy took a cautious step forward, unable to tear her eyes away from him. "Ty!" Her voice trembled, a mixture of disbelief and hope flooding her. Ty's eyes met hers, his expression softening. There was no mistaking the look in his eyes. It was the same love, the same warmth that had once made Amy fall in love with him. He was back, and everything she thought she had lost was suddenly within reach again. "Amy," Ty said softly, his voice cracking as he took a tentative step forward. "I never wanted to leave you. I never thought I'd get the chance to come back. But I've made mistakes, and I need you to know that I'm here now." Amy's heart skipped a beat as she looked at him, struggling to find the right words. So much had happened in the years since he had left. She had rebuilt her life, learned to live without him, and moved forward in many ways. And yet, standing in front of him, those old feelings, the love they had shared, came rushing back. But how could she open her heart again? How could she welcome him back after everything that had happened? Amy took a deep breath, struggling to steady herself as she stood before Ty. Her heart pounded in her chest, the weight of everything that had come before crashing down upon her. The moment felt surreal, like a dream she wasn't sure was real. Ready to wake up from, but at the same time, she wasn't sure she was ready to embrace it. "Ty," Amy whispered again, her voice barely above a breath. "How? How are you here? How is this possible?" Ty stood there, looking both vulnerable and determined, his face a mixture of regret and longing. He stepped forward, but it felt like an eternity before he could close the distance between them. There was so much he wanted to say, but for a moment, all he could do was look at her, the woman he had loved, the woman he had left behind. He had never meant to hurt her. "I know it doesn't make sense," Ty began, his voice tight with emotion. "I never thought I'd be standing here again, but I couldn't stay away. I couldn't live with myself knowing that I left you, knowing that I abandoned everything we had. But I had to figure things out on my own first." Amy's eyes searched his face, the warmth in his voice stirring something deep within her. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that this was the same man who had once promised to never leave her, who had shared her hopes, dreams, and heartaches. But the years had changed them both, and Amy couldn't help but wonder, was this the same Ty she had loved so deeply, or was he someone else now? And what did his return mean for the life she had built? "You left me, Ty," Amy said quietly, her voice shaking. "You left me when I needed you the most. I had to pick up the pieces of my life without you. I had to move on for Lindy, for myself. I couldn't wait forever." Ty's face fell, and he lowered his gaze. He knew she was right. He had left her in the darkest of times, and the pain of that abandonment was still raw in her heart. "I'm sorry, Amy. I truly am. I never wanted to hurt you, but I wasn't the man you needed me to be back then. I wasn't ready." Amy felt a wave of anger rise within her. It wasn't just the pain of losing him that hurt, but the feeling of betrayal, the way he had disappeared without a trace. She had spent so many years wondering what had happened, why he left without a word, without an explanation. And now, standing in front of him, all she wanted to do was scream, to tell him how much he had broken her. "But why, Ty? Why couldn't you have come back sooner?" Amy asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "I had to carry on without you. I had to keep going, even when it felt like my heart was breaking every single day. And now you show up like nothing has changed." Ty closed his eyes briefly, feeling the weight of her words. But when he opened them again, there was a quiet resolve. "I couldn't come back, Amy. I wasn't whole. I was still lost. And I couldn't be the man you needed me to be if I couldn't even find myself. But I'm here now. I know that doesn't change the past, but I want to make things right. I want to try if you'll let me." Amy's heart twisted as she listened to his words. There was truth in what he said, but the scars of the past were not so easily erased. She had built a life, a future without him, with Nathan by her side. Someone who had been there for her when Ty was gone. Nathan had been understanding, kind, and patient, always offering his support when Amy needed it most. He had filled the void that Ty left behind. And now she was torn. Lindy had noticed the tension between her mother and Ty, and she stood still, her gaze bouncing between them, clearly confused. Amy could feel her daughter's eyes on her, and it made her even more acutely aware of the delicate situation she now found herself in. Lindy was growing up, becoming more independent, and Amy couldn't help but wonder how this reunion might affect her. Ty's return might bring back memories of a family that no longer existed, a life they couldn't go back to. "Mom?" Lindy asked, her voice tentative as she walked over to Amy's side, her small hand reaching for hers. "Who's this?" Amy looked down at her daughter, then back at Ty. She hadn't expected this moment to come so suddenly, but now, with Lindy standing there, the reality of the situation hit her harder than ever. This wasn't just about her and Ty. It was about their daughter, the life they had built together, and the life she had built without him. "Lindy," Amy began, her voice soft but steady, "this is Ty. He used to be a big part of our lives. Your dad and I, well, we had a lot of good memories together." Lindy's eyes studied Ty for a moment, curiosity mixed with caution. "Used to be?" Amy smiled faintly, her heart aching as she searched for the right words. She realized how much had changed. "Yes, sweetheart, it used to be," Ty smiled gently, his eyes full of warmth as he crouched down to Lindy's level. "Hey there, Lindy. It's so good to see you again. You've grown up so much." The days following Ty's return to Heartland were filled with an unsettling tension that neither Amy nor Ty could escape. Although they had exchanged initial pleasantries and reconnected with Lindy, the past hung between them like a shadow, constantly reminding them of the years they had lost. Amy had been so sure that she had moved on, that the love she had once shared with Ty was a chapter in her life that was closed. But now that he was standing in front of her alive, real, and filled with the same warmth, she remembered she couldn't help but feel conflicted. Every time she saw him, a part of her heart still wanted to reach for him. But the other part, the part that had been hurt so deeply by his departure, was more hesitant. The scars were there, hidden beneath the surface, and Amy wasn't sure how to reconcile them with the hope that Ty's return had stirred inside her. The ranch had always been a symbol of healing for Amy, but now it felt like a battleground, an emotional battlefield where love and pain collided, each vying for control over her heart. Ty, too, felt the weight of their complicated history. His return hadn't been easy. The years apart had changed him, had forced him to confront his own demons and grow into the man he was now. He had learned hard lessons along the way, but he still carried the guilt of leaving Amy behind. He knew he couldn't undo the past, but he was willing to try to build something new with her, something real. But he also understood that Amy's heart wasn't something that could simply be picked up where they had left off. She had moved forward in ways he hadn't expected, and now he had to prove that he was worthy of her trust and her love once more. One morning, as the sun filtered through the trees and cast its soft golden light across the fields, Amy found herself walking toward the barn. She hadn't seen Ty all morning, and though she had told herself that she needed space to process everything, she felt a pull to find him. When she reached the barn, she saw him standing by one of the stables, his hands resting lightly on the wooden posts. He was looking out over the horizon, lost in thought. For a moment, Amy just stood there, watching him, the way the light caught his face, the way his posture seemed both strong and vulnerable. It reminded her of the man she had once loved so fiercely. "Ty," she said softly, her voice carrying across the quiet morning air. He turned, and for a brief moment, their eyes locked. A flood of emotions passed between them, guilt, longing, uncertainty, and a sliver of hope. "Hey, Amy," Ty replied, his voice low. "I was just thinking." Amy nodded, taking a few steps closer. She could feel the distance between them, even though they were standing just a few feet apart. The space was filled with unspoken words, things they both needed to say, but weren't sure how to begin. "I don't know how to do this," Amy said, the words slipping out before she could stop them. "I don't know how to just pick up where we left off. You left me, Ty. You left me with a broken heart, and I don't know if I can fix that." I don't know if I can trust you again." Ty took a step toward her, his expression serious. "I know I don't deserve your trust, Amy. I know I hurt you in ways I can never take back. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. I want to prove to you that I can be the man you need. But I can't do it alone. I need you to let me in again." Amy's chest tightened as she listened to him. She could hear the sincerity in his voice, but the fear of being hurt again was overwhelming. It was a constant battle between wanting to forgive him and not wanting to risk the heartache that had followed his departure. Ty continued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I don't expect things to go back to the way they were. I know we've both changed, but I'm asking for a chance to rebuild, to show you that I'm not the same person I was when I left. You don't have to forgive me right away, Amy. But please, let me show you that I'm here to stay for you, for Lindy, for the family we could have." The words hit Amy like a wave, knocking the wind out of her. She had always dreamed of hearing those words from Ty, dreamed of the day when he would return and apologize for leaving her, for breaking her heart. But now that it was happening, it felt so surreal. Could she truly open her heart to him again? Could she risk letting him back into her life, knowing the pain it had caused? "I don't know if I can," Amy whispered. Amy admitted, her voice barely a whisper, "I've spent so long trying to move on, trying to heal, and now you're here, and everything I thought I knew about my life feels like it's been turned upside down." As the days turned into weeks, the tension between Amy and Ty seemed to ebb and flow, never fully gone, but always lingering. Amy had tried to maintain a sense of normalcy at Heartland, throwing herself into her work with the horses and focusing on caring for Lindy. But there were moments when she would catch Ty's gaze from across the barn, and the weight of everything between them would feel too much to bear. His return had brought up so many emotions: love, grief, regret, and Amy wasn't sure how to handle them all. Ty, on the other hand, was doing everything in his power to prove that he had changed, that he was worthy of Amy's love once again. He spent his days helping around the ranch, working alongside Jack and Mitch, trying to show that he was committed to staying. But despite his best efforts, Amy remained distant. She had told him that she wasn't ready to jump back into their old life, that she needed time to process everything. Ty respected that, but every day without her felt like an eternity. The nights were the hardest. When Amy lay in bed, the silence of the house would swallow her whole. She would remember the years they had spent together, their quiet mornings, their shared dreams, the way he held her after a long day, and she would wonder if it was possible to ever have that again. Could they rebuild what they once had? Was it even worth it? Or had too much time passed, too much pain accumulated for them to ever be the same? One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of purple and gold, Amy found herself standing outside the house, staring out over the fields. She hadn't planned on going outside, but the weight in her chest had become too much to bear. Her thoughts were too loud, her emotions too overwhelming. She needed air. She needed space to think. "Hey?" A familiar voice broke through the stillness, and Amy turned to see Ty walking toward her. His expression was gentle, his eyes filled with the same softness she had once loved. She wasn't sure if it was the fatigue of the past few weeks or the exhaustion of her own heart, but seeing him standing there suddenly felt like too much. "Hi," Amy said, her voice barely above a whisper. She didn't know what to say to him anymore. The words felt locked behind a wall in her chest, too difficult to find. Instead, she just stood there, her arms wrapped around herself as if she could somehow protect her heart from everything that had come rushing back. Ty walked up beside her, keeping a respectful distance but close enough that she could feel his presence. The silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable, but heavy with unspoken words. After a few moments, Ty spoke again, his voice low. "I miss you, Amy. I miss us. I know it's not the same as it was before, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you, for Lindy, for everything." Amy turned her head to look at him, her heart aching with every word he spoke. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the regret in his posture. It wasn't easy for him either, but his words hit her harder than she expected. She had spent so long pushing away the love she had once shared with him, convincing herself that it was gone, that it was safer to let him go. But now, standing in front of him, she realized how much of her heart still belonged to him. "I don't know how to do this," Amy admitted, her voice breaking slightly. "I don't know how to go back to a time before all of this, before you left. I've changed, Ty. I'm not the same person I was when you left. I've built a life here without you, and now I don't know where you fit into that life." Ty reached out and gently placed his hand on hers, the warmth of his touch grounding her in that moment. "I don't expect things to be the same, Amy. I don't even expect things to be easy. But I'm here. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance to show you that we can have something new, something better." Amy's heart fluttered at his words, but she still couldn't shake the fear that had taken root inside her. What if it wasn't possible? What if they couldn't go back to what they had? What if the pain of the past was too deep to overcome? "I don't want to hurt again, Ty," she said, her voice filled with quiet desperation. "I don't want to feel like I'm giving you my heart only for you to leave again. I can't go through that." Ty's eyes softened, and his grip on her hand tightened. "I'm not leaving. I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for good, Amy. I've spent too long running from the things that matter most. But now, I'm ready to face them. And I'm ready to face you for better or for worse." Share your thoughts in comments section and subscribe my channel for more updates.